Make some noise for...
I told him when I come back, we're going swimming. So, tell everybody thank you for them. Скажи, дякую.
Дякую.
Не, английский.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, что? Very much. Еще раз.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Future president of Ukraine right here. All right. Greetings, everyone, and welcome tonight. It is April the 4th. It is 6:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm excited tonight. Have a guest, have Nick from End Time Independent News, Nicholas Lamar Suter. I'm going to bring him in, and away we're going to go. But first, I want to say thank you for being here. Already in the chat, I saw somebody, Ellie Kent, with this question. Hey, Greg, great to catch you live. Thank you. And thanks for being our voice. You're welcome. Also would love to ask how Zhenya is doing. Zhenya's doing well, health improving, good medical reports. I was speaking to him just a little while ago, and you'll be hearing from him very soon. Thank you for that. Super chat coming in from one of our mods, Dunk on You23. Slava Ukraina. Russia is a terrorist state. That is 100% a fact. Also donating 10 gifted memberships, and Linda S. from Australia gifting 10 memberships as well. Thank you guys so much. I'm glad to hit it at a time where we can get the as large a group in here as possible, to be honest with you, with Australia and the Kiwis over there in New Zealand and all of our friends on this Friday. Thank you for being here. It's Saturday where some of you are, Friday evening where I'm at. Switching to Friday, Saturday in Europe, and your day's just rolling out west. So thank you guys. Let me get Nick in here. Welcome to you tonight, my friend. It's nice to see you. We have a lot to talk about, and the stream really changed because I wanted to go deeper into economics, and not really just based on the tariffs, but also the negotiations, how those things are unfolding in regard to Ukraine. But we've had to call an audible tonight over the last couple of hours, and I've been putting the information together. Papa Dutch coming in, $20 super chat. Cory Booker is the champ. That would be for sure. Cory Booker gets it, and especially his statements on Russia. So thank you for that. But let me just tell you, I'm really disgusted by what just unfolded in Kryvyi Rih over the last few hours. And we're going to spend some time on that, but we're going to lay the groundwork first. So thank you for being here, Nick.
Thank you very much for the invite. Absolutely delighted to be here. Always enjoy it, whether you're joining us on In Time or whether I'm here. It's always a delight to stream with you. So,
well, thank you.
Thank you.
And to be quite honest, man, I'm just angry tonight because this is very obvious what is happening. It's obvious what is happening not only in Ukraine, but globally. Our world becoming more destabilized, and no matter which way you spin it or you look at it, that is the plan of Vladimir Putin. When it all comes down to it, that is playbook 101 of the KGB, the Soviet system, and the Kremlin. And unfortunately, Donald J. Trump is playing right into that game, assisting in the destabilization of the world. And we're going to talk about that for a minute and then push it into Kryvyi Rih, which is absolutely unacceptable tonight. It's all unacceptable. Canadian $10 from Yvonne. Oh my goodness. Margino. I don't want to mess that name up. Glory to Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you. And we're going to be talking about Canada tonight as well. I mean, do you see it the same way? I mean, you look at it from a different perspective than I do on the political landscape. You look at it from a different perspective and lens from some of your background and expertise. But the reality is the world every minute is becoming more and more destabilized versus stabilized. And that's a problem.
It's a staggering problem. We discussed this a bit on our show last night with Commander Lance McMillan, with whom I know you're very familiar. I'll make a minor correction. You said Russian/Soviet. I prefer to just say it's the Soviet mindset. Now, the mindset that you're talking about, you know full well this mindset existed before the Soviets. This mindset goes back to the days of the Tsar. But this mindset also did not change with the fall of the Soviet Union. So we like think of it as the Russian mindset. But to say that is to not take seriously how ingrained it is in their culture and how much of an impact it has on literally the entire planet today. Soviet, at least, is how I grew up understanding it, and it was around for a while. So I like to refer to it as the Soviet mindset. It's the same whether you go back 200, 400 years. The mindset of Stalin, the mindset of really a kind of warfare that we do not recognize in the West, and that is a propaganda warfare where lying is. They don't even understand the concept of lying in the same way that we do. It's a completely different concept. And, truth is what your leader tells you it is. Yeah,
that's correct. And we even heard those statements from Dmitriev saying that he was on the assignment of Putin. He is the freshly appointed foreign economic guru and brilliant negotiator who basically just tore Washington, D.C. up over the last couple of days. So we will get into all of it, but you're right. It's even beyond. This is ingrained for over a century, and we're reaping the fruits of it. And when you believe, whether you're Donald Trump or it could be anybody, Mark Rutte, I don't want to pronounce it wrong there, NATO, any world leader. When you think you can just make one statement, one word, and that's going to just change everything as far as Vladimir Putin is concerned, he's already defeated you. That's it. He's already defeated you. And that's what's really, really sad about it. Just Not Good, $5 super chat. Idea: offer $1 million to a member of Congress to change their mind, then send them 1 penny, say sorry. Tariff. That actually brings this up. Nick had sent me this. We'll do it right now, Nick. Here you go.
Please.
Perfect segue. Thank you for that. Nick sent me this. Imagine and for those of you who go ahead.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Imagine in 50 years, kids have to answer this question on a history test and not being a trick question. Which of the following did Trump not tariff? Switzerland, Canada, penguins, or Russia? And the reason the penguins one is funny is because, yes, he did. The tariffs were generated by AI, and the AI tariffed any country, whether there were people living there or not, whether it had an economy or not. And one of the countries had nothing but penguins living on it, and they've been tariffed now 10%. So he has tariffed penguins. The only ones he did not tariff was Russia.
Steve saying,
I can't make this up. I can't. This is why I'm here saying this on your air instead of mine. I would lose subscribers if I said that. I'd be like, nah, Nick's just me. He did not tariff penguins. He just doesn't. No, he tariffed penguins.
Yes, he did. Steve's saying penguins of the world will be fighting back too. Slava Ukraini. Yvonne, thank you so much for your support tonight. Petra Olson also coming in with Swedish Non-Smoking Initiative. Yvonne, thank you. Please send money for Ukraine. Yes, ma'am. We are nonstop working, and you can see in the past and you will see in the future those efforts. I do have to tell you guys that one of the guys that we work with, he's on some video with me from last summer, and I won't call his name, but if you go back, you can find videos. But I don't want to identify the soldier, but he was wounded significantly yesterday, and it was from an FPV drone. He was fighting on the southern front, and maybe later we'll talk with him, or he is alive, but he took serious damage to his head, over 100 pieces of shrapnel in his head. Both eyes are damaged. One is we know that it's going to be saved. The other is questionable. So kind of a tough day. I've been talking about that today with Zhenya and others that are connected with his family. I've known this guy since he was born. He's now a 25-year-old hero of Ukraine, but he was wounded. So thinking about him tonight, and then the strike on Kryvyi Rih just put me over the edge, and we changed everything. And that's what we're going to be talking about. So let's get to it. I want to lay the groundwork, Nick, and I have laid this out logically. And I know right now, you guys in here, listen, please do not leave the stream. So I have tried to share and lead by example that sometimes you have to look at or listen to information that you prefer not to see that person, hear that person, but you need to hear it to learn so that you were educated. So many people ask me, Greg, what can I do? And the answer is, you're here, you're on other channels, because it's not going to be on mainstream media. And if it is, it's going to be tilted. You can share, you can educate yourself, you can tell people in your community forums, you can talk to politicians, whatever nation you're in, write letters, everybody can do something. And unfortunately, guys, sometimes you have to listen to things that you don't want to hear. You don't like that person, or you do like that person. I don't like their voice. It disgusts me, but you need to understand it so that then you're educated to share with others. I mean, and we're on the right page there, Nick. You've got to know.
No, absolutely. And it's, Piaget said, all salient learning is painful. You cannot learn something new without first acknowledging that you did not understand it or know it in the first place. And also, some sources are just going to be sources you're not going to like. That doesn't mean they're wrong. And even on the rare occasion that a source you're going to present, I have no doubt, information we know is wrong, but that has to be presented so that we can say here is a source lying.
Okay, so first of all, we're going to listen to Marco Rubio in a minute. We're going to listen to Kirill Dmitriev. We're going to listen to Donald Trump, but I'm going to reveal something to you guys tonight that I'm trying to figure out. Okay, but all of this yes, we're going to listen to President Vladimir Zelenskyy too. So we're good, but it lays the groundwork for the understanding of what is happening. Darren Vaughn, big shout out to the redneck down in Virginia. Linda S., can we donate to his medical bills and recovery? Linda, I'll let you know about that. You're always here and you're always so wonderful and kind. We'll keep you posted on that. In fact, Zhenya, and this is back to our friend that was wounded, will be facilitating his transport and working through the hospitals and all of that and getting him to a specialist in Kyiv. It's just the very beginning. He was just wounded. So we'll keep you updated on that. And thank you. Linda H. gifting 5 memberships. Darren Vaughn, back at you. We love you too. And Yvonne with Puck, I think that's Hockey Puck, Russia. That's good. That's good. 66-year-old man, Ukraine will win. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's get to it. The last 24 hours, the world has kind of changed a little bit. We have the tariffs. We have a penguin uprising throughout the world. Okay. We have Donald Trump being completely lost on the war in Ukraine. That's my opinion. I found Marco Rubio. I've been looking for him for a week, man, and I finally found him. He's at a NATO meeting. He makes a statement. We need to hear it. The guy with the big head right there, that is Kirill Dmitriev, Lone Nguyen, grandma from California. Let me put that up there. Those, you heard the sound. I need to put the layer back on. Thank you for those coffees, grandma from California. So here we go. The guy there, Kirill Dmitriev, is recently appointed Vladimir Putin's personal envoy of Russian economic and foreign investment. By the way, he's really a smart guy. His command of English is powerful, and he will make mincemeat negotiating or having conversations with somebody like Steve Witkoff. That's just the way it is. So he's meeting Witkoff in the White House while Trump is tariffing penguins, and Witkoff is to his right. So I want to look at the last 24 hours, and thank you for not running away, turning the stream off. And I'm going to show you two things. So here we go. The first one, Donald Trump after the tariffs on Air Force One. Pay attention here. Just pay attention.
Europe has not been successful in dealing with President Putin, but I think I will be successful.
Sir, have you talked to Zelenskyy recently?
Not too long ago, yeah.
How did that go?
Good. I think he's ready to make a deal.
No progress, though, other than that?
I think a lot of progress. No, he's ready to make a deal, and I think that President Putin is ready to make a deal, and then you'll stop the killing of thousands of young people a week.
Did Kirill Dmitriev say that to your his counterparts in the U.S.?
Who?
Kirill Dmitriev, the Russian negotiator that's in Washington right now?
I don't talk about specific people. I just will tell you that there's a lot of good conversation going on about Ukraine, Russia.
Okay, Nick, I'm coming back to you right here. So you can see the Fox News, you can see the translation over top of it, and he makes the statement, European Union is doing no good, they're terrible. And then he said, I think I'll fix it. Have you spoken to Zelenskyy? He paused, thought about his answer. Oh, yeah, I've spoken to him. So let me interpret. No, he's not spoken to Zelenskyy in quite a while. He has, but not in a while. They're both ready to deal. Putin's ready to deal. Zelensky's ready to deal. Well, what about the talks with Kirill Dmitriev? And he looks at him. He goes, "Who? I don't talk. I don't talk about personal specifics. Okay, we just keep that private. But I can tell you, we've had some very good conversations." Who was having the conversation? Witkoff and Dmitriev. That's the reference he's making. You say, well, how do you know that? Because he was in the front yard putting tariffs on penguins. So this is what we're talking about. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I can't believe, okay, or maybe there's somebody out here that can educate me. If you do, just send a message or put it in the chat. One of the mods will catch it, and they'll give me the answer. The number one propagandist in Russia is Vladimir Putin. And then he is surrounded by a team of masters. Sergei Lavrov, Kirill Dmitriev. I haven't went to the TV personalities yet. I'm talking about power players. But Solovyov. Solovyov has the highest rated television program in Russia. It's a daily program full of propaganda, full of destruction of the world, destruction of Ukraine. U.S. now is going to be the best friends with Russia. That's the narrative you're watching on Solovyov. It's not about dropping bombs on Washington anymore. It's about going and digging up diamonds in the Arctic together and digging up oil together. And now we've went from enemies to best friends. Now, the same camera angle, the same everything, without the Fox News lower third on it. Solovyov has the same video feed. And you can see here, Solovyov. Look at this.
Have you talked to Zelenskyy recently?
Solovyov
Not
live.
too long ago, yeah.
How did that go?
Good. I think he's ready to make a deal.
No progress, though, other than that?
I think a lot of progress. No, he's ready to make a deal, and I think that President Putin is ready to make a deal, and then you'll stop the killing of thousands of young people a week.
Did Kirill Dmitriev say that to your his counterparts in the U.S.? Kirill Dmitriev, the Russian negotiator that's in Washington right now?
I don't talk about specific people. I just will tell you that there's a lot of good conversation going on about Ukraine, Russia.
So it's Solovyov live. Okay, so it's just interesting to me. And I'm not an expert in this field, but he's got his own video feed. That was the translation into Russian. That was not translated into Ukrainian. And that's what's being pushed on Russian state television. So it's just interesting to me. That's where we start. Now, secondly, Kirill Dmitriev. And yes, this is laying the groundwork for where we're going. Kirill Dmitriev was then making the rounds on Fox News, on CNN, and I'm sure that some of you, if you are Americans, and well, you're probably not watching news, you're probably watching us because we're telling you the truth on YouTube. So if you didn't see it, I'm not going to play the Fox News one, but I am going to play the CNN one. But I've got a bonus for you tonight. A bonus. I actually have Kirill Dmitriev with the Russian press conference. Only Russian media standing there in D.C. near the White House spewing trash. Okay? I've got it for you. But first, I want you to make sure you understand the proficiency of these guys that are negotiating on the behalf of Vladimir Putin. I mean, like him, Nick, or not, he's not a dummy.
No. And not only is he not a dummy, but he has been steeped in, he was a former assassin for the KGB. He has been steeped in ruthless, merciless, single-mindedness towards whatever his goal is, and also never letting you know what it is. If he tells you what his goal is, it may or may not. There's no way to know. He knows tell the truth just enough that you can never tell when he's lying and when he's not. You can't. You cannot. You have to judge him by his actions. Period. End of discussion.
Mark Peterson, thank you for that. The recording on Air Force One was probably created by a news agency and distributed to whoever wants to buy it, license it. Well, we know Solovyov's in the line to buy or license it, so that's probably very accurate. Thank you, because I was asking that question. Also, thanks to our mods. Know you guys are working hard tonight. Appreciate you guys as always. Kirill Dmitriev was sanctioned in 2022 by the United States government. Personal sanctions as one of the oligarchs. Back when the war broke out and you started hearing about these sanctions on oligarchs, Kirill Dmitriev was sanctioned. The Treasury Department had to temporarily lift the sanction off of this man just so that he could get a visa to come to the United States and have a chat. Now, let me ask you a question before I show this video. We have Putin's envoy, who is sanctioned in 2022, 3 years of personal sanctions. The Treasury Department of the United States lifts the sanction, grants him a visa. He's not headed to tour the Alamo in San Antonio. He's going straight to the White House and meeting with Witkoff, an American oligarch who knows nothing about war negotiations and nothing about Russia nor Ukraine. And then this sanctioned man of evil holds a Russian press conference in sight of the White House of the United States, a sacred place. And then he goes on to Fox News and CNN in perfect English and spews his message. What is right about that, Nick? Can you answer? What is right? Or am I just seeing it wrong?
Nothing. Again, this gets back to what I was saying earlier, which is we don't understand warfare the same way they do. For them, warfare is this totalitarian. It's not guns, bullets. That's kind of the ugly side that they don't think about or even really talk about too much or even care about, because they don't care how many people die. For them, warfare is the 1984. It is the constant experience, getting up every day of your life, and everything you say is geared towards whatever end and whatever. And these are masters of it. So Putin has already convinced Trump that he wants an end to this. Putin doesn't want an end. He does. He wants an end to this after he's conquered, after he's not only Ukraine, but restored all of the former Soviet satellite states, which he needs to do before he realizes that he wants to take over the world. So, I mean, all of them are practiced like every day of their lives in lying, manipulation. It is part of the culture, and the reality is, I've had this question asked, because we do interviews, and I've had the question asked: would we ever platform a Nazi, an actual Nazi, and bring them on? And the answer is actually we would, but only under one set of circumstances. I'm a smart guy. I'm not qualified to take a guy who's been steeped in Nazi ideology for half his life. I might even lose a debate to him, not because I'm wrong, because that's all this guy does. Meanwhile, I have a life, I have kids, I have family. No, he just single-minded. We would do it if we could find somebody that we knew for a fact could take him on in a way that was dignified, but say, this is how and why we know you're wrong. Nobody at the White House is prepared to do that. Nobody at the White House is prepared to challenge anything anyone in Russia says. They are lapping it all up as if there's truth to it. And when it turns out that there wasn't, they're like, well, people make mistakes. I don't mind having discussions with evil people who will do nothing but lie to you, so long as the people doing it are equipped to do so. There is nobody within a 1,000-mile radius of this White House that is equipped to handle any of these people, and they're going to get the floor wiped with them.
Dunk on you. I know he's personally connected to Dnipro. Another super chat. Putin is a terrorist criminal. He needs to go.
May I cut in with one thing here that I
and
really
gifting 10 memberships. Thank you, Dunk. And yes, you may, brother, anytime you want to. Go.
This struck me once. We were talking with Captain Starsky, and he pointed something out which is so unbelievably obvious, and still took me a while to wrap my head around, which was, he said, what if, for a moment, you took away all of the military IDs of all of the Russians, and then just continued to look at what they were doing? You would realize instantly that this was a terrorist organization and a terrorist state involved in acts of terrorism, period, end of discussion. There'd be no question just looking at what they're doing. But because they have an idea of a country, all of a sudden this gives them legitimacy that they would under no other circumstances have.
Renegade Chungus, I missed you earlier, gifting 5 memberships. Thank you. And also thank you for all of your work fighting for truth. Big shout out to Renegade Chungus. Nick, we're going to validate that. Honestly, this is why I'm drinking ginger ale tonight. Canada Dry for our neighbors up north. Canada Dry.
Please don't blame us. It's not us.
I'm drinking Canada Dry because I'm sick to my stomach tonight. All right, here you go. Couple of things I'm trying to educate as well. Listen to this guy's English, his command of it, and listen to what he says on CNN.
I'm interested in discussion about specific sanctions relief or taking sanctions off. The scale of the sanction regime put on to Russia, not just by the U.S., but really the entire Western world, there's no precedent for it. Mm-hmm. Do you talk to U.S. officials saying this would be helpful, this would be something that we would appreciate?
No, actually not at all. Because first of all, many Russians believe that sanctions actually have been good to transition Russia from dependence on the West. And if you look at our GDP growth, it's still 4% last year versus around 1% for Europe. And our debt to GDP is 18% versus another around 100% for Europe. So Russian economy has done well, and we don't ask for any sanction relief. I think what we see is that some U.S. businesses want to go back, and if they want, as part of going back, to have some sanctions relieved, I think that is a good move to be done, but it's a good move for America. So I think at this point we are not asking for any sanction relief. We are just discussing that if America wants to have more business with Russia, and by the way, there are 150 American companies still in Russia, with 70% of them doing business for more than 25 years, then of course U.S. can do so.
Couple of points here. First of all, the first question that should have been asked is, why is your boss wiping out children with missiles? That's the first question. Then we can talk about sanctions, okay? But nobody has the cojones to ask those tough questions because they have already been fed the line. I'm telling you right now, they're being fed the line and drinking it in that there is a neo-Nazi regime in Kyiv led by Vladimir Zelenskyy, and Putin is playing the long game. He wants to continue to destroy Ukraine, eventually overthrow Vladimir Zelenskyy, and put in a pro-Russian president. It's easy to see. But two questions I have for you, Nick, or one's an observation. The CNN anchor was speaking in normal, fast rate American, high-level English for an interview, and Dmitriev didn't miss a step. He understood every word, and he came back with a clear answer. Of course, he's going to toe the company line. Sanctions are good. You helped us. Do you see how they do it? All yours.
Oh no, I made the same exact observations. I was listening to the CNN, and if you had not beforehand told me his command of English, I would have been there like, what kind of idiot uses this much of the vernacular high level? You can use lower level words to say the exact same things. Takes a little longer, but no, he's talking like I'm talking right now, which is a pretty quick pace, and whatever words he wants, and no stumbling, he wasn't even concentrating. You could just tell he understood it. So he clearly has absolute complete fluent command of English. But his reply was, and this is some of it is sales tactics. It's not all, there are a lot of techniques that people have for negotiating and doing stuff like this. So this isn't necessarily kind of the high level 1984. We've always been at war with Eurasia, but it's still he's starting to encroach on it, where he basically says, sanctions, brother. No, nobody's asking you to lift those. Are you crazy? No, listen. If you look at our numbers, what you're going to find is we've been doing great under these sanctions, and we appreciate that you guys have done it. We're a little concerned about you. I mean, the West is suffering without our products, and we build good products. If you would like our products, you can lift those sanctions anytime you like, and we'll take the hit. We'll be okay with it. But if
companies
not,
are just
them. It's
waiting to come back in. In fact, 150 of them. And
it was, without even flinching. He was just,
He was controlling the environment. And if you witness that on public television, on CNN or Fox or wherever else he was interviewed that we don't know about, and I'm not saying he was, we know he was on those two places and outside the White House with the Russian press, he's completely controlling the narrative, and he is spinning it to make Russia the good guy. Russia is in charge. You didn't hurt us. You helped us. Our numbers are actually at 4%. And then he goes, doop, 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 doop. Now, can you imagine a closed door where Vladimir Putin is sitting with Steve Witkoff and Witkoff doesn't even know what the names of the Ukrainian oblast are? Mince meat. Mince meat.
Yeah. Hey, baby. U.S. and Russia's always really been friends. Why are we fighting? Let's deal with Ukraine. Maybe talk about splitting up some diamonds in the Arctic, conquering the world if we get a little bored.
Oh, and by the way, I know Iran's a thorn in your side right now, Donnie.
Yes, sir.
But you help me with Ukraine, and I'll help you with Iran. Yes. It's so easy to see, ladies and gentlemen, what's happening. It's obvious. All right, now.
May I point out one other real quick thing, which is if you take a look at him too, this is a master class. If I was going to teach a class in this kind of thing, this was a master class, and here's why too. I'm kind of hamming it up a little bit just to be a little funny, like, hey babe, this is.
It's Friday night. We're letting our hair down.
Yep. What he did was the perfect balance, not for Russia, not for a Canadian audience, not for any other audience, but for an American audience. It was the perfect balance of humility while still being direct and having a little charisma. He didn't overdo it on the charisma because he knew if he did, he'd get busted. So he's just, I'm going to have a little charisma and say, we don't understand, but when you're ready, we're ready. And it was just kind, conciliatory, but not too much. That is one hell of a needle to thread, and he did it perfectly. And again, tailored to the audience.
Listen,
not just to,
if you're an American, and I'm sorry to keep saying Americans, guys, but this was on the American media, and he was in the United States, so no disrespect. We got people from all over the world watching. It happened in our country, unfortunately. But if you're an American sitting there and you're just kind of on the fence and you don't know, and this is why I encourage everybody in the community to educate yourself so that you can talk at the restaurant, at the cafe downtown, at the coffee shop and say, no, that's a bad guy. Why is it a bad guy? Well, this is why. Because if you don't know, you would look at that and go, wow, he's smart, very kind, articulate.
The right guy.
Exactly. All right, now I'm going to move you outside the White House. This is in the Russian language. I've translated it into English. Now listen to what Kirill Dmitriev is saying.
Indeed, over the past 2 days on Putin's orders, I've been meeting key Trump admin officials here in D.C. A main focus, naturally, is reviving U.S.-Russia relations and dialogue, which completely halted under Biden. We clearly see that many players and countries are trying to derail this dialogue and block the revival of U.S.-Russia ties. They're hindering progress on key issues, but we note that Trump's admin and its key figures are committed to addressing the full spectrum of U.S.-Russia matters, especially geopolitical ones. They hear Russia's stance on many issues. Unlike Biden, Trump's team listens to and understands Russia's concerns. While disagreements exist, there's dialogue to resolve them. We discussed various economic and investment matters. We see American firms eager to return to Russia. Over 150 U.S. companies operate here, 70% for over 25 years. Many want to fill gaps left by European firms. Ideological limits in the EU may actually benefit U.S. companies here. We'll occupy niches where it benefits Russia with government approval, forming joint ventures with Russian firms. Our priority is Russian business. We discussed cooperation in Arctic, rare earth metals, and other sectors to build positive relations. Note that yesterday's tariffs affected many countries, but not Russia.
Our embassy and MIT are working on crucial issues for Russians, including efforts to restore air travel. Significant progress has been made. For instance, Presidents Putin and Trump agreed not to target energy infrastructure between Russia and Ukraine, a first step in de-escalating the conflict.
That is what he says to Russia. It's the same message that Trump says. It's about the deal. It's about the business. It's about the partnership. The Biden administration destroyed everything. Dmitriev said the same thing. We're rebuilding the Russian-American friendship. That is what the Russians were hearing. He said,
Well,
they're fully committed to us. U.S. is fully committed to us. Quote.
notice too that he, while not saying the sanctions, he listed every element of the sanctions. So nobody can go back and say, because if he had gone there and said, we have to get those sanctions lifted right away, he'd have been busted. What he did say was, we have to get the businesses back. And if they won't come back from the EU, maybe the US for all these reasons, we have to get air travel back. Why, Greg, why are they having troubles with air travel?
Exactly.
So he's saying we need to remove the sanctions
in a masterful way.
So it's yeah. That was and I love the the EU has some ideological issues, and they do. I mean, the EU is really kind of prickly when it comes to countries that like to invade neighbors and other. I mean, it's one of those things that the EU is a stickler about, and the US obviously doesn't have quite such the resent over that kind of issue.
And you guys just hang on. This is going to be a longer stream. Nick and I are already prepared for it because I'm still just laying the groundwork for why I'm drinking ginger ale tonight. Not just because I love my Canadian friends to the north, but I'm still laying the groundwork for where we're going. We're talking about this 24-hour window here. All right. One more clip from Dmitriev.
I've spent a lot of time in the States before, and we believe that speaking the same language with Americans, understanding their concerns and what worries them, but firmly standing for Russia's interests and what benefits Russia is crucial. This is absolutely vital. So it's not just about economy and investments, but also about rebuilding relations between Russia and the U.S. That's all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
In complete control, standing outside the White House. It's disgusting as an American. And I know you're an American as well. And you guys that are here from watching from other nations, we're not happy. The man is standing there talking about how great our relationship is with them. And tonight, they dropped a ballistic missile on Kryvyi Rih, detonated it in the air 90 meters above the city to inflict maximum death on civilians. And the man who had sanctions lifted so he could come to the White House and go on our media, both right, left, middle, Fox, CNN, wherever they fall. Of course, Fox is Trump News Network. It's disgusting. And then I see pictures come in from my friends, and I won't show you the picture. His face just littered with shrapnel. And not a mention of it. Nick, do you realize nobody asked that man one time, what about what you're doing inside Ukraine? You had a golden opportunity.
Well, for the second one, he walked away before. Again, commanding. He said, thank you very much, boom, turned and walked away. And then another man slipped in between him and everybody else. So if anyone tries to follow him, it doesn't, you're not gonna be able to ask a follow-up question. Plausible. I didn't hear it. As for the CNN interview, yeah. I mean, the reality is we have become in the US more accustomed to tolerating brutal acts by other countries, and we've reached a point now where it doesn't even seem to hinder the conversation. It's like, well, yeah, you've been murdering a lot of innocent people, that's fine, let's have a seat and talk about other things. And that is going to get us one way or another in the end. It's already starting to, in terms of countries that don't want to work with us, that don't respect us. And why would you respect a country that we're not turning a blind eye. We're acknowledging we see it. We're just telling people we don't really care, and or Trump will get a deal and get everything done. And it's none of our business, is it really? In a lot of cases, no, it's not our business until you're starting to bomb innocent people. Then if it's not the business of the most powerful country in the history of mankind, then there's no such thing as morality or decency in human beings anymore.
So let's now finish the 24-hour preparation, and then I'm going to take you to Ukraine. Okay? I found Marco Rubio. And dear friends, listen to what he says very clearly.
The thing I would point to you is this. We're going to wait and see. The Russians know our position in terms of wanting to end the war, and we will know from their answers very soon whether they are serious about proceeding with real peace or whether this is a delay tactic. It's a delay tactic. The president's not interested in that. If this is dragging things out, President Trump's not going to fall into the trap of endless negotiations about negotiations. We will know soon enough whether or not Russia's serious about peace. If they are, that'll be great. Then we can move towards peace. If they're not, then we'll have to reevaluate where we stand and what we do moving forward about it. This is about actions. If you're interested in peace, you stop fighting. And you lay out the conditions by which you're willing to end a war. And they have to be reasonable conditions, right? Not crazy stuff. If you're not interested in peace, then you sort of drag it out and you come up with excuses and you pull, and we know that, and we're not going to get pulled into that.
Russia said they are preparing to start another military campaign.
Well, then we'll know they're not interested in peace.
And at this very moment, they're targeting energy sites. Can I get a reaction to that?
Targeting what? I'm sorry?
Energy sites in Ukraine.
Well, again, I get that means they're violating the ceasefire. That's not a good sign. Okay, if we have a true ceasefire, which is what we wanted, a complete ceasefire, nothing should be blowing up. But the Russians didn't agree to that. They wanted a partial.
There you have it. I see. First of all, I'm thankful to finally find him as the Secretary of State of the United States. B, at least recognizing we have a problem. But C, I've never seen. He was like a deer in headlights, man. He was like a deer in headlights because he's been off the scene. And guys, all of you guys in the chat there, all the mod team and all that, I took care of the one guy. We have an educated group in here, and I love for people to have conversation and communicate. But even I have my limits. So thank you guys for all your work there, and we'll take care of it.
He didn't know the ceasefire had been violated, and then he didn't know what to say or think or do about it because he didn't have his marching orders from Trump. He didn't want to act independently, which is, by the way, again,
very good point. I concur with that. And for those of you guys that are in here and don't know, I'm a conservative. I'm like way over here, and Nick's way over there. And look how we partner together and work together. And that's the beauty of what we try to bring everything together. So, yeah, he's. Your observation was better.
Fallen into this,
sir.
He's fallen into that same Soviet mindset, and that's what Putin is fostering in Trump. It's what makes it so dangerous. When the Germans invaded Russia in violation of a peace treaty they had with Russia, Russia thought were going to get to be part of the Axis. By the way. So I was wondering, and I casually like to ask Greg and get an answer if he knows. when we ever did have good relations with Russia, because it was not pleasant even during World War II. We did not like them because we knew they flipped sides only because they were going to get wiped out if they didn't. We've never had good relations that I'm aware of.
Nobody has ever had good relations with Russians. Only Russians.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So for 2 weeks, Stalin is holed up in his office, unable to move because he can't believe he's been betrayed. And the Russian army just sits back, and entire air bases are falling because nobody's getting their marching orders. That is now the Trump regime that's been set up. Nobody's going to contradict him. He's just fired 3 other people. I can. Yes.
No.
I don't want to spoil anything if you're getting into it.
No, I'm not. I just want to confirm. Go back to Dmitriev. And I won't waste our time to go play the video, but he said, I'm here on the orders of Putin. I'm here on the orders of Putin. Okay, so anything he is saying, he's letting you know this is what Putin is saying. That is why Rubio didn't have anything to say, because he doesn't want to get out of line with what Trump would have him to say. That's the tragedy of it.
And he can't take a stance. He can't. So he's just sitting there going, well, if they violated, yes, they violated the order 4 hours after it was in effect. If they violated it, then that would be a bad thing. It's like, thank you, Captain Obvious. We know it's a bad thing. What is the State Department's position on it? And the State Department's position is that we're going to do whatever Trump tells us. We're going to think whatever Trump tells us to think, and they can violate as many deals with anyone that they want to, which I think that's going to be the position in the end.
All right, let's take it to the next step then. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It took us 52 minutes to get here, but you needed to understand the big picture, because now we're going to go downhill. The last 24 hours, directly out of the mouth of Zelenskyy today, the Russians targeted, and this was today, the Kherson power plant, Zelenskyy, energy infrastructure. Targeted strike by 6 shaheeds on Kharkiv. Unfortunately, 5 people died, 34 people were injured. Strikes on Ukraine's energy facilities are not accidental. The Russians know and have guaranteed the United States they have not and will not strike since March the 18th. It is April the 4th. So everything that they're spewing out from the American and Russian side, Zelenskyy is stating it's broken. It's not working. Diplomacy, he then says, quote, is an empty word for them. And that's why pressure is needed. Enough pressure on Russia so that they feel the consequences of every deception, every blow, every day that they take people's lives and drag out the war. And then Kryvyi Rih. And we'll get to that in a second. But this statement from Zelenskyy, Nick, goes right back to how Dmitriev played the game. And played it masterfully. And I'm sorry to say it, but this is where world leadership has to change course. And it's not going to happen through sanctions and economics only. There has to be a red line and a pop in the lip of the bully, Vladimir Putin, on this particular case. Diplomacy is an empty word. Pressure is needed. So yesterday on CNN, when the journalist was trying to ask the question that would put pressure on, well, what about the sanctions on Russia and your economy? The answer was, sanctions? They're great for us. You've changed our whole world. These are the nuances that people will miss. And I'm trying, and you're trying to educate the bigger picture here, because they take that nuance. They're masters of it. Zelenskyy is sitting here saying, pressure, pressure, pressure. Diplomacy will not work. They'll turn the story every time. And we watched Dmitriev do it masterfully.
Speaking of masterful, I want to say this too, which is, I know you appreciate hearing things the way they are, and I want to see if you agree with me on this, which is, I don't think Zelenskyy has ever intended. He will abide by any agreement he makes because that's what the Ukrainians will do. But I don't think he's interested in, quote, peace in the sense that Trump is talking about and or certainly is talking about, because this isn't a war. This is an invasion. They've stolen all this land, and any, quote, peace deal would presumably they get to keep some of what isn't theirs. That's not, no. So Zelenskyy doesn't want to do that, but he's been shouting, they won't stop. You can't negotiate this forever. So he changed tactic and said, fine, negotiate. Let's negotiate. Let's do it. Let's sit down. I am all for this. You set the terms and let's no energy. We'll do that. Great. That's a great negotiation. Thank you, Donald. One of the best negotiations I've ever seen in my life. I look forward to it. No. He knows for a fact it's a joke. But he says he appreciates it. He says we're gonna do everything we can. He's not surprised. This is what and he'll go back to the table again. I don't know how many times it'll take Trump to realize, but he's trying to teach Trump a lesson. And every day that it takes Trump to learn this lesson, innocent people are getting killed. And to Trump, this is just a game. And it's a trash. All I'm going to say about it.
Okay, so I'm going to submit something tonight for the chat. We can talk about it. You can make a comment about it. And I would like to hear your response on this, Nick. I'm fairly confident. I'm in my 31st year working in Russia and my 28th year working in Ukraine. I am fairly certain that the plan of Vladimir Putin is to continue the war. And I know I made this statement earlier in passing, but I want to really focus on it for a second. Putin wants Zelenskyy gone. And I believe more and more every day that Donald Trump wants Zelenskyy gone. I think that Zelenskyy has become such a symbol of freedom and the fight for justice and the fight against corruption. And he's a small guy. His English is okay. He has the ability to use wit and humor. Many over the last 3 years have called him the Winston Churchill of this era. And you know Vladimir Putin hates every thought of that, and Donald Trump hates every thought of that. And now we see this renaissance of Russian-American relations, according to Dmitriev, who is the spokesperson for Putin and those meetings in the U.S. And for me, I believe that Russia wants to play the long game here, slow, destruction, terror, and they're trying to wear Zelenskyy down, and they want to take him out. I really believe that. And I would love to hear people's comments in the chat. Believe me, I'm not talking about, like, I don't want to say bad things on a stream and get taken out. I don't want to talk about him being eliminated. I mean, they just want his administration gone, and they want to put in a pro-Russian, pro-transactional, pro-deal government. Okay, so let me make this statement. I've written it down. Ponder on this, and then give me your response. Ponder on this, ladies and gentlemen. Russia's almost daily strikes on Kryvyi Rih cannot be viewed as anything other than Putin's personal terror against Zelenskyy. There is only one goal: to break Zelenskyy personally, because this is his hometown. The murder of the children on the playground today is a war crime and terrorism on the part of Russia. It is impossible to assess this any other way. Today's strike is the answer for Rubio, about the Kremlin's true intentions. It was very prompt and as direct as possible. To be quite honest, the strike was shortly after Rubio made his statements. Putin is an international criminal and terrorist. The people he sends to negotiate are representatives of the terrorist, even if they have a Harvard or Stanford diploma, which some of them do. Talking to them about business is useless. As long as they have the opportunity to sow fear, they will sell fear. This is their main product and at the same time, their marketing strategy. Your thoughts?
I think to the ends, I would agree. I think I would have trivial, nuanced changes. For example, I don't think Putin's angry with Zelenskyy. Probably not much at all. And the reason is because I don't think Putin allows himself the luxury of anger. I think he is ice cold sociopath. I think he wants him gone. I think you're absolutely right, but I don't think he wakes up and says, "Oh, how can I get this guy?" Because if he allowed his emotions to control him like that, he would not be where he is. So I agree, he's absolutely targeting him, but he's not even doing it as a vengeance thing. He's just like, okay, how do I break this guy? And to him, it's more of solving a puzzle. And it's just like, okay, I need this man gone. I need him. He may even have, and this is going to sound a little low, may even have a modicum, very small modicum of respect for him just for having lasted this long. But he wouldn't hesitate in killing him in an instant if they were in the same room together. I mean, but I would disagree in that. I don't think he hates Zelenskyy, and I think he is bothered by the westernization of Ukraine very much, and he wants to see that rolled back immediately. So I agree with, nonetheless.
Zelensky's the face of it.
Yeah. Yes.
And I would agree with your sociopath view. Absolutely. He probably doesn't even have the ability, but I guarantee you he's jealous that, no different than Donald Trump would be.
Yes.
That, first of all, in 1 week, he goes from, in the Trump administration, a dictator to President Zelenskyy. You noticed on Air Force One at the video today that we played that it was Zelenskyy wants peace and President Putin wants peace. There was no president in front of Zelenskyy. There was president in front of Putin. You must pay attention. And you say, oh, well, he just flipped his mind. No, it didn't. It didn't flip his mind. It didn't. It's on purpose. I truly believe that these strikes on Kryvyi Rih are calculated because it's the home of the president. And Kryvyi Rih is a big city, folks. It's a 1 million people metro. In fact, Professor Gertis, when we were talking yesterday, and he goes, man, tell me about Kryvyi Rih, or a couple days ago. And he wasn't aware of how big it is. Kryvyi Rih is the longest city in all of Europe. It's very large. It has a lot of industry in it. It's more of a depressed economic city. It's not as industrial, for example, as a Dnipro or a Zaporizhia or a Donetsk that is now occupied, or a Kharkiv. But it's an important city for the history of Ukraine, the culture of Ukraine, and it is the hometown of President Zelenskyy. So today, just hours before the stream, we've laid the groundwork for all of it. 18 people have been killed, including 9 children on a playground. 56 are injured, confirmed cluster ballistic. 100% intentionally programmed. The Iskander to explode cluster munitions in the air for mass killing. The shell exploded at a height of 90 to 110 meters, scattering 55 capsules of submunitions. And I could show video right now in photos that would put people in depression. But this is one of the areas, this is one of the playgrounds and the dead were just laying everywhere. Cars burned up with people inside of them. I will share this one picture because the young boy is covered up. This is his mother there on the left in the light brown jacket holding his hand. His father to the right. This young boy was 15 years old, and he was killed today in Kryvyi Rih. Even late into the night, there is video that I will not play of the mother still sitting there holding her son's hand, crying and singing nursery rhyme songs and poems. It is beyond belief. And how this can be ignored. How you have the opportunity to ask questions of Putin's envoy, and it doesn't happen. How we can allow Putin's envoy in the White House. How we can desanction him temporarily and put him on mainstream media while this is happening is purely disgusting. The Times of Ukraine official response. Peace in Ukraine has never been so close. A quote of the Trump administration, March the 17th. Putin wants peace. A Trump spokesperson on March the 23rd. I trust Putin, Trump himself has stated multiple times. The Times of Ukraine states a cynical, insidious, targeted attack on peaceful people on a crowded place. Among the victims are already 6 children. We have not remembered such a number of deaths at once for a long time. Someone just went out to breathe fresh air, someone to the store. All their plans were irrevocably destroyed in 1 second by the strike. Eternal memory and strength to loved ones to survive the grief. That's the Times of Ukraine. President Zelensky's wife made a public statement, and it's going to be nowhere in the world. And yes, I did spell her name right, Olena Zelenskaya, because in the Russian language or the Ukrainian language, the last name goes to the feminine with the ah. So her name is Olena Zelenskaya. She put out a statement. President Zelensky shared it just a couple of hours ago. This is what the First Lady of Ukraine wrote tonight, and nobody in the world is carrying this. No media, no, just us, and hopefully other YouTubers. Every day, she says, every night, this alarming echo. What's wrong with you? Is it loud again? Are you okay? And the answer shatters hope. Killed. Peaceful Ukrainians are being killed by Russia again. Children and parents, the very young and the elderly. One of the people killed today at Kryvyi Rih was a grandmother watching her grandchildren play on the playground. She was sitting on the park bench. They're all dead. Entire families forced to flee war, seeking and not finding safety. People in their cities, homes, in their yards, on their land. What's going on in Ukraine? Is it quieter now? We heard something about a ceasefire. Foreigners ask, far away from the war. We heard something too, of course. The sounds of alarm, the approach of missiles and drones, the screams and the crying. We hear them even now. They are with us forever. We have 6 children and 10 adults killed by Russia right now in Kryvyi Rih. We need more than just words of compassion. We need action. This is why I was sharing with you that this is an emotional attack on the Zelenskyy family as their home city. President Zelenskyy, his wife Elena, And it is meant not to just terrorize and to kill, but it's meant to disrupt that presidential office with overwhelming pressure and pain. I mean, even tonight, after the missile strike, Kryvyi Rih was hit again with 10 UAVs, with 10 shaheeds, private homes burnt and destroyed. Right now, air alarms again. Where is Kryvyi Rih? Kryvyi Rih is right here. It's under air alarm right now. It is nonstop assault against that city. I just think there's something to it, but powerful words there from the First Lady. What's your thoughts on that, my friend?
I think you've obviously made your case that the entire thing is a deliberate personal attack on President Zelenskyy and his wife. It detonated above a schoolyard, and you could see the play equipment. That's why there's so many children. And you'll remember the name of the town. I do not. That had the theater where they had written Dzitsi, just outside
Mariupol.
On the theater they had written Mariupol, and Dzitsi is the Russian word for children. And they had written it big enough that you could see it from an airplane, so you'd know not to bomb it. And of course, that theater was bombed. And it took. Honestly, for me, it is to their credit that it took Ukrainians so long to figure out that they should stop marking these things. It's to their credit because it never crossed their minds that any human being could ever be driven to deliberately attack a place that has children and has no strategic or tactical value whatsoever. They couldn't comprehend it. And when they finally realized, well, whether you comprehend it or not, so they've stopped doing it, but the playgrounds are still being targeted, and it's not an accident.
Let's just wait. You just wait. I'm getting ready to reinforce the message you're sharing. And now, we've been streaming now an hour and 12 minutes, but you folks are now understanding why I'm drinking ginger ale tonight. I'm so disgusted by the video. I get a lot of video and photos, and my friend was wounded. I see the shrapnel in his head. And some of these children on the video, they were not dead yet. And the video, they pass away. I mean, it is beyond disgusting. Beyond. When the rest of the world, it's like Elena Zelenskaya was asking. The foreigners are asking, I thought there was a ceasefire. I thought there was a ceasefire. And you hear the President of the United States saying, Zelenskyy wants peace. President Putin wants peace. Things are going well. We're going to have a solution soon. Marco Rubio has asked, hey, what about the hits on the infrastructure? Well, if they're doing that, then they don't want peace. At least he made that piece of a statement.
Then that's a bad thing. He said it was a bad thing, but he didn't say they don't. He did
Correct.
Not commit to that. Sorry.
Correct.
Yep.
Let's go here. President Zelenskyy messaging out a Russian. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm going to now pre-warn you. I'm not going to show you any bad video, but this is President Zelenskyy's picture. That is the grandmother there by the park bench. I'm sorry if that offends you, but this is President Zelenskyy's tweet. A Russian missile struck an ordinary city, directly hitting a street in an area with residential buildings. Preliminary reports suggest it was a ballistic missile strike. And at that time, 14 fatalities have been confirmed. It's 16, including 6 children. My condolences to their families, and then he switches to Ukrainian, Pokazati Bilshi. I will speak more about this. That's what it translates to. Okay? I want you to notice what are the first 3 words in that message, Mr. Nick. It's not a trick question.
A Russian missile.
Pause. A Russian missile. Okay. Now we have a tweet from Jan Lipovsky in Czech, firing a missile at children's playground. This is not war. This is barbarism. Our thoughts are with the families of the victims and with those defending their country against Russian terror. Czechia stands with you. And then right now, tonight, this is what it looks like. That's not the ballistic strike. That's the strikes of the Shaheeds just a couple hours after the ballistic strike. So you see Czechia, Russian terror. You see President Zelenskyy, a Russian missile struck. Now, the ambassador from the United States, Bridget A. Brink, horrified that tonight a ballistic missile struck near a playground and restaurant in Kryvyi Rih, more than 50 people injured and 16 killed, including 6 children. This is why the war must end. Every analyst, Ukrainian media going crazy that she did not mention Russia, that she did not call it a Russian missile, because the Russians are spinning 2 narratives tonight. 2, there has been official report from the Russian military that they struck a military target, and then there are propagandists inside Russia tonight saying that it was a Ukrainian missile that was taken out by their own air defense and landed down on the playground. So the ambassador in Kyiv, dear Bridget Brink, I don't know where you personally stand, but I know you're in Ukraine. I would wish that you would add the word Russia to that. It's a Russian missile that struck Kryvyi Rih, and I can tell you right now, Ukrainians are reading this. They're talking about it right now. Why not say what Zelenskyy said? A Russian missile. Czechia, Russian terror. American ambassador in Kyiv, horrified tonight, a ballistic missile struck. The war must end. And I'm not accusing her. I don't know her. I'm not accusing. But, come on, let's call it. Unless they're under order not to call it.
If she were the ambassador to Russia, I'd understand it. I wouldn't like it, but I'd understand it. She's the ambassador to
Ukraine.
Ambassador Kyiv, to Ukraine. And I don't think she's under orders not to call it. But I think she's smart enough to realize that if she does, she will be the U.S. ambassador to an island of penguins.
Well, that's probably very accurate, but I'm going to tell you something that's disgusting. Now, I will give you the official Russian military response. Over on the right is in the Russian, and it says, Press Ministry of the Russian military confirms, and then ba-boom. I translated it on the left for you. And while I read that to you, or you're reading it on your screen, your phone, your tablet, or your television, down in the bottom right corner, just a reminder of the mom still sitting with her departed son tonight. Russian military official response, a high-precision strike with high-explosive missile was carried out on the site of a meeting with the commanders of the Ukrainian armed forces and Western instructors in a restaurant in the city of Kryvyi Rih, the defense ministry reported. As a result of the attack, the enemy lost up to 85 military and foreign officers, as well as up to 20 units of motor vehicles. Quote, that is the message that will be sent to the Trump administration, and it already has been. No question. How, and I'm showing you the picture. I could disgust everybody with video right now. That is the official Russian response. How does that happen, Nick?
In Russia, we call that Tuesday. As I said at the beginning, and it is funny that what I had said at the beginning ended up aligning so closely with where we went. It's all propaganda. If you want to understand the Russian mindset, read 1984 and realize that the goal of that was to show you exactly what the Russian mindset was, especially under Stalin, the Soviet mindset, and so do I. And it's the mindset they still have. That's not a lie to them. That is not a lie as far as they're concerned, because a lie implies you're doing something wrong. Saying mistruths or untruths is not wrong in most cases to them. And that comes when you live in a paranoid society with secret police and where, loyalty is the only currency of the land, which Putin seems to unfortunately have largely succeeded in sowing in the U.S. again, because we're not prepared for that kind of warfare. So here we have a president who's looking up to Putin, wants to cozy up to Putin, and them, that's not a lie. If you can't recognize the evil nature of saying something like that, you've been so disconnected from reality. That's not a society I want to live in. That's not a society most Russians want to live in either. That's why they have to rule it with an iron thumb. And that's the society that Ukraine is trying desperately to break out of. We are either for calling reality like it is, or we are against it. And there is no finer way to demonstrate it than that statement and what Trump does with it. And I'm not even going to bother asking you what you think he's going to do with it, because you and I both know what he's going to do with that statement.
Ken Patterson, thank you for that. President Reagan calling it the evil empire. Can't disagree with that. Completely agree, if anybody knew. So there was a question in there. Was there a meeting going on around that area? No, there was not. It literally detonated on a playground, just to the side of it, above it, in a big residential square adjacent to a restaurant.
And you can see they have one of the wheel things, and you can also see that the park is big enough that there's no way that none of the cars are on fire. So, right off the bat, you can demonstrate that all of the arguments about the cars, the this and that. So if they were lying about the cars, they were lying about everything. There's nothing in that statement was true.
I can show this picture. I'm being careful what I show because they're all horrible. So you can see the apartment buildings, and this is down around the corner from where the strike was. Let me pull out back to this. Yeah, this is the best image I can give you. I'm just making sure I don't want to disgust anybody, but that we're good here. Well, I'll show you this one as well. Not that, this. So you can see the large courtyard here, the playground to the right, down where the smoke is where the actual detonation, but the cassettes went off. I mean, you can see these are massive buildings, folks, and a massive open courtyard. And it's just complete devastation. And you can see just all the shrapnel from the cassettes that are into the buildings. So hopefully this helps you understand a little bit better. I'm trying to make sure I don't, and these are the official pictures released from President Zelenskyy. This one's okay to share. And you can see people just standing and looking. I've been in ballistic missile strikes. You don't know what to do. You're in such shock, and the percussion of it. When we were in Odessa just before I came back, and that one hit right by us at the Hotel Bristol, it's indescribable, the amount of power.
By the way, I'm sorry, I just realized I cut you off in the middle of them.
No, you're fine. I'm just trying to share with people.
I'd like to point out, in a war, unfortunately, it is impossible keep the civilian casualty count at zero. Can't be done. Countries that are ethical and nonetheless recognize that sometimes war is a necessity build more and more precise weapons, in part to be able to kill the enemy more effectively, but also to reduce the casualty count. That's part of the goal of civilized countries, if you can apply civilized at all. When they accidentally kill civilians, as we have done before, usually they admit it and they apologize and they say, this is how many civilians were killed in our strike. And they hope for a record over time where you see those numbers keep getting lower and lower and lower. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes the U.S. doesn't, but I remember it doing it when we were, when was the last time, when we were in Afghanistan and we were targeting the Taliban at the beginning of the Iraqi war. We were very good about publicizing how many civilians we killed, not the other side, us. And then when the numbers got updated and it turned out maybe we'd been a little low, we correct them. Russia, Ukraine doesn't have that luxury. They're not attacking anybody. So there isn't civilians for them to go and inadvertently kill. Russia is doing this deliberately and they are covering it up. And that is one of the ways that you can tell, at least in the past, that the U.S. has been deliberately trying to avoid civilians is we own up to it when we screw up. The way you can tell they're deliberately targeting civilians is because they're hiding it. And every time they find out where civilians are, next day it gets hit.
Yeah, it gets us into a conversation where, unfortunately, the value of human life has been diminished. And it's a sad thing. I'm reminded right now of just 4 or 5 days ago, and this statement still being played every day on Russian media. Jesse Waters' 30-second comment on Fox News, gloating that we do not need friends. And remember, we dropped atom bombs on Japan, and now they're our best allies. That loss of life, and but now we see the big picture, and it's just still. I mean, it's an American. And I can tell you right now in Kherson, it is a human safari. They take their drone operators in Russia and they chase civilians every day. They continually level Kherson indiscriminately every day. So if someone wants to make the argument, oh, well, they messed up there, you can't make that argument because this is their modus operandi. They indiscriminately kill. That's it. All they want to do is bring death and destruction. Now, I'll give you a couple of things here. Russia has increased drone strikes since the start of the peace talks. Before the peace talks in Saudi Arabia, over the 30 days prior, there was 3,148 strikes. The 30 days after, there have been 4,776 strikes. It's easy to see. It is absolutely easy to see. Additionally, Andrei Yermak today making the statement, consultations between Ukraine and the United States continue at various levels. But he says there are no set dates for an official delegation meeting on the calendar. It's all you need to know. But Dmitriev can go to the White House and get on CNN and get on Fox News. It is all you need to know. Let me catch these super chats here. Boom, boom, boom. Mitch Ashdown, Canadian $10, unaliving 500,000 or whatever, or how many ever, not Putin Russians, hasn't worked. That's for sure, and it will not work. Australian 50 from Linda S. From Australia, get troops into Ukraine. After much research, Article 5 does not apply. No excuses. That is correct. The question is, do the nations have the wherewithal? That's the question. the wherewithal. I know we have the desire, and the Europeans, and they're the coalition of the willing, and Macron and Starmer, and they're making the bold statements, and Norway is sending more supply, and Denmark sending more supply, and Poland wants to get a port on the Black Sea, and all of these things. It's all great. Thank you. Germany stepping up the best they can. The Baltics stepping up the best they can. The Russian war machine is really big. It's really big. And they are partnered with North Korea, Iran, and China. For me, sure, let's go. Let's go. Let's take all the military ships that are down in the Med and ship them up into the Black Sea, and let's put the airplanes in the air and let's end this thing. Completely. That, if I was the Secretary of Defense, it would have already happened. There would have been a red line, and you'd have 7 days. And if it doesn't happen, it's over. But that's me. I've seen a lot of death and destruction and lost a lot of friends in Ukraine. And I know what it takes to defeat Russia. And it's force. It's force. Economic, educational, military, sociological, psychological, only force. It's the only thing they understand. This is why they can gloat. When Keith Kellogg came and said, yeah, you know, they lost 70,000 in the Battle of Stalingrad. And then the Russians came back and said, no. Lavrov came back and said, no, Kellogg, you're wrong. We didn't lose 70,000. We lost 1 million. And that just tells you we'll keep coming. We'll keep coming. And that is the big challenge. Adam Rounds gifting 5 memberships. Thank you. Renegade Chungus, thank you for that $5 super chat. Why are we more educated on geopolitics than our representatives in the current administration? I could do their job for a bowl of kibble a week. Yes, you could, Renegade Chungus, and do a much better job. Leslie Bowe, conductor, member for 13 months. Trump didn't even meet the plane with the USA soldiers on from Lithuania. He went to play golf instead because he doesn't care. Completely 100% agree with you. And I'm also angry as an American that story did not get more traction. Not that I think anything conspiracy theory, I won't go down that road, but we lost 4 American soldiers in the nation of Lithuania. Okay. And they should have been honored, and there should have been a lot more, for those American soldiers. Ministry for the Recovery of Stolen Toilets, Australian 5. Good day, Greg and Nick. The way Trump is dealing with Russia is an attack on the U.S. from inside. Completely agree. I see nothing else. I feel for all the families who have lost. And Papa Dutch is the only person on the planet that will give a $5 super chat, put a message in there, and then retract the message. That is legendary, Papa Dutch. So Papa Dutch, for that retracted message, because I'm just getting to it, boom.
Slava Ukraini.
There you go, Papa Dutch. If you retract the message, I've got to do that. Papa Dutch, $10 super chat. I wonder how long it would be before a building in Ukraine with an American flag painted on the roof got targeted. 5 minutes, 10. I can tell you, Papa Dutch, one of the arguments that the Trump administration makes in regard to the mineral deal is if we put American buildings and American workers and European buildings and offices there, that will be a security guarantee. That is a pipe dream smoking the wacky weed, because I have literally with my own feet walked over American businesses and European businesses and buildings that have been leveled to the ground. That doesn't work. And yes, there are a lot of them there that have now been occupied or been destroyed. Big presence there in agricultural sector, and the energy sector already destroyed. So that's not going to work. let's do this, Nick. Last couple of things. I want to get your opinion on this. All right. Guys, thank you. We've gone an hour and 35 minutes. I'm pushing myself. Thank you to all the mods. Thank you to all the team.
I just lost audio with you. Hold on a second.
All right. Nick's getting his audio back.
Not sure what happened there. Hold on.
Thank you guys so much. Mop is gone. Thank you for that kind comment.
So give me a second.
We needed this.
To reload and try to come back in. Apologies.
No problem. Nick's having computer issues there.
Oh, gotcha.
There we go.
Never mind.
All
I'm
right.
back. I'm good. I hear you.
Good. Steve saying you're welcome. Everybody, you're welcome. Okay. Now, once again, just the mods. You guys are awesome, and so many people chatting. Thank you for that. Thank you for, listen, we know we all, at some point in life, we don't agree on everything. Come on. We're humans. But it's so wonderful to have in place, and that's what I want to create with my channel, is a place where we can come together and lay the differences down and fight for the same things, and we will. So thank you for being a part of that. Now, Nick, here we go. I want to get your opinion on this. And ladies and gentlemen, I have told you at the beginning, we'll continue to tell you that sometimes you have to watch video that you don't want to see. Okay. I'm going to show you a clip now from Judge Andrew Napolitano. If you're in the US, you know who this is. Had his big show and his own judge television show, and then he's on all the news networks. And yes, he has his own program now called Judging Freedom, and he put Scott Ritter on there. But I want to get your thought on what Napolitano asked and what Ritter says. Have you seen this clip, Nick?
I did see. Yes, yeah, because yes, I've seen.
Okay, this is what I want your opinion on this, and guys. What do you think about this? You can put it in the chat. Right here. I think right here.
Does Donald Trump have any cards to play with Vladimir Putin?
None whatsoever. It's a losing game. Look, he does have one card, and that's the good faith card. And what that would be is to take the cards and put them down and say, I'm not playing a game here. I'm not trying to, out Trump you and outbid you and all this. I want peace. And I recognize that you are the victor in a war that is characterized more accurately as an American war against Russia, using Ukraine as a proxy. So I understand that you have beat us. And what I want to do is mitigate the impact of this defeat by, getting you what you say you need, but maintaining, sufficient infrastructure so that the United States is not a complete loser in this. The good faith card, where we were serious about this. I thought that was the card that Trump was going to be playing early on, especially when he sent Steve Witkoff over there and they met with.
So listen, I know everybody's opinion on Witkoff. I'm sorry, on Scott Ritter. I know he's a pedophile. I know all of that. There's 2 points I'm trying to make here. He's on the media everywhere. I mean, this is Judge Napolitano talking about Russia. So the question is, does Trump have any cards, or is this a done deal, Nick, where we're just going to see a further development of the Trump-Putin relationship?
Trump has cards. He's just unaware that he's got the cards. He doesn't know what they are and has no real interest in learning them. His cards are to. He does have that card. That is true. He does have that card. I think that man had said, and I actually didn't recognize him, but he does have that card. That is a valid card, and I thought he was going to play that card too. He didn't. He's also got the card of saying we're going to put in a full commitment to Ukraine because the U.S. does not tolerate bullies, and that's one of the things that has made us and to as much as the EU and other countries have lamented the US thinking it's the world's police, they have more actually appreciated it, because we screw it up a lot, but we also get it right enough that it was worth having us as a stabilizing force. And they're asking, where did that US go? We'd like that US back. He can restore that. He's not going to, but that's a card he can play. He's got some cards. He has ceded them all to Putin because golf is more fun, and because he admires Putin. So for those reasons, he has ceded all the cards, and I don't think he really cares.
Well, I think it's there's two reasons I chose to show that clip, and I can't stand the guy, so don't worry about that, folks. You're not going to see Scott Ritter on here. But we need to see, this is what Americans are being exposed to, and others that watch this. But in this case, it's obvious that Putin has the cards. And I'm going to close the stream where we started the stream. And that is, we allowed a sanctioned Russian oligarch to come into the United States. And while Trump was tariffing the penguins, he's sitting in the White House having conversations with Steve Witkoff, talking about the renaissance of the Russian-American world and relationships. All that does is tell you Putin has the cards, and I hate to say it. And unfortunately, we see tonight. You look at it when I end the stream here in just a minute. Go look at your local media. Go refresh your news sites. Go look at different ones. You can look right, left, middle, anything. Are you seeing any news about the horrific attack tonight in Kryvyi Rih? And I would bet you will see nothing on mainstream media. What you'll see is we're getting close to a deal. And that is a tragedy. Darren Vaughn, Super Chat 199, won't let me mess with Nick. I wouldn't mess with Nick either. A Papa Dutch, $5. The reason I had to do a delete was the first was messed up. Well, Papa Dutch, you got a Slava Ukraina for that. Pyro Kurt Brubaker, thank you for that Super Chat. One of my great new mods. Slava Ukraini, thank you. I wouldn't be a mod for anybody but you. Thank you. That's such a kind statement. My dear friend from the Northwest, Ken Patterson, $10 Super Chat. Trump tariffs equal global recession, equal cratering fuel prices, equal Russian bankruptcy. We'll see. I know that's the plan. I know that's the plan. And listen, we can be partisan or nonpartisan or all of this. I know that that's the plan. I don't know if that's Trump's plan, but I know that that is the people's plan who are out there thinking. Trump doesn't have a plan.
That's the hope of people.
Okay. That's the hope of people. I think that's a better way to say it, in a more, at least in my opinion, more accurate way to say it. It may be an AI plan. I mean, but it's not Trump's plan. I promise you. But we'll see what happens. I appreciate you. And 1964 Corvair, always, you leave me such nice comments on my daily videos. And tonight, or when I do lives, I can talk more, theoretically, and we can speculate some. But I always try in my daily videos to be factual and give you the facts the best I can. But 1964 Corvair 1, always leaving me nice comments on my daily videos. Guys, you need to understand, Trump doesn't care. He has ulterior motives and a personal agenda. We need to work for solutions, not wait to think that Trump will solve things. That is absolutely correct. And the 1964 Corvair was an incredible vehicle. And you must have one, sir. Nick, thank you, my friend. It's been a great time together.
Absolutely. I would like to say one thing before we go.
Hold on, Papa Dutch, $5 Super Chat. He's cranking up now. Trump using AI means we have an artificial president. Yes. And I would agree with you guys. He has an orange tint. Cheeto Cheeto orange tint.
Well, the use of an AI would suggest real intelligence somewhere in the and I don't see any that's been using the AI. So, but okay.
Well, I think it was Witkoff, and they were sitting behind the desk, and they said, I think it's Chat GPT. Yeah. Oh, we don't have an account. Oh, it's okay. I'm the president. Okay, type in how to rule the world with tariffs. Oh,
this is what happened.
Why is there a penguin in that picture? Oh, it doesn't matter. Print that off. Hey, art department, can you make me a chart? Yeah. No, don't put Russia on the chart. Vova would be upset. No, don't do that. All right. I'm ready. Let's go outside.
Okay, yeah, penguins have been having it far too easy. So we've had this discussion before. Trump had gone bankrupt in the 80s and 90s. He was bailed out by the Bank of Moscow, which is Vladimir Putin, and through Deutsche Bank. There's enough evidence. And ChatGPT was asked to rate all of the last 5 presidents as possible agents of Russia, whether knowingly or unwittingly. Every president got less than 1% chance, except for Trump, which got over 80% chance. So what we see in the U.S. is the Russification, really, of the United States. So on top of us here trying to figure out how to help Ukraine, how to handle the problem there, we have what could and should have been Ukraine's strongest ally succumbing itself to Russian propaganda. And I was thinking yesterday about this, and I was saying to myself, I really hope Greg Terry doesn't invite me on, because I don't want to do another one of these bummer streams where we talk about everything that's going wrong. And then I was reminded of something that I like very much. I was reminded of what, in my view, is actually one of the best lines in all of literature. It comes from Lord of the Rings. And for those, I'm sure everyone's seen the movies, but as a quick reminder, Frodo has received this ring, which is evil and has to be destroyed. It is a huge burden to him, but if he does not try to destroy it, everything he knows and loves will be wiped out. And they're taking a breather. And as they do, and I'd like to get the line because it was in the movies, but the line is better in the book. So as they're taking as they're taking the breather, I seem to have lost where I had it from the book, so I will do it from the movies. He says, I wish this ring had never come to me, and I wish I need not live in these times.
Mm-hmm.
And Gandalf replied, so do all who see such times, but that is not for us to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. Thank you very much for having me on, my friend.
Amen. And wonderfully stated. In fact, my son just made me watch that movie not too long ago with him for the first time. And I don't know about you. I'm thankful to be alive during this time. I absolutely detest what is happening. But I, and like all of you, will never give up. We'll fight for truth. We'll fight for justice. Of course, that at the top of the list right now is fighting for Ukraine, fighting for the truth to come out of there. And we're committed. And that is why Ukrainians say Razom do Peremoga. We're going to continue until victory. And I'll be daggoned if Ukraine and Ukrainians who are being non-stop tortured with the Russian war machine will not have a voice in their victory. That would be unacceptable. So we are going to continue to fight. I'm checking the last thing here. we're all good there. I can tell you that there are 2 more that have lost their life in Kryvyi Rih tonight. 2 young children. I believe they were 6 and 8. They had survived, but they've succumbed to their injuries tonight. So that number's going up. So remember, keep fighting, folks. Thank you for everything. Thank you to our mods. Thank you for all of you guys. You're amazing. Share the love. Good Friday evening to you. Good Saturday, wherever you're at. Friday afternoon, wherever you're at. Just whatever you do. Show love to the Penguins. Have a good night and be blessed.
Слава Україні!